Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about incursions. This is a follow-up video from my last video, so if you haven't seen my last video, go ahead and check on my previous uploads. You should see that video where we talked about hardcore mode, some things that I thought about, maybe the future of underground, perhaps that will be showing up. But I feel like one of the things that we're missing in the division, which I say this because the division was played for the longest time by a hardcore community, a community of gamers who enjoyed the content that was brought to them. And I don't want this video to sound like it's a case against raids, but I want us to, just kind of go back and look at some of the things that made the first division game very good. And perhaps the developers, need to start looking at those things when it comes to a year 2 content schedule. And one of those things is incursions. Now, incursions, I don't know how you felt or how you feel about them, but I feel like they were some of the most engaging pieces of content in the game. They had everything it took for you to provide this demographics of gamers content that was very structured, content that wasn't too long, and content that was doable. So how am I going to put it? So you say an incursion, you run in there, you play specific roles. It's a very short breach mission, and you had the matchmaking that went with it. And this is my criticism of the Division 2, which they removed the matchmaking system from the main raid and eventually put it on a discovery mode, saying that they didn't want to put the matchmaking system. Last night I was thinking about that, and I thought to myself, perhaps this might be a conspiracy. It might be a stupid statement, but I don't think that's the case. Perhaps they put that no matchmaking system in there to create an artificial barrier to prevent folks from completing that raid too easily. I think that's the case, because from time we have, as division players, we've been able to complete anything. And if you cut out the time it took for matchmaking, the time it took to go to Discord or go to LFG groups to find people, if you cut that time down, a lot more people, I feel like, would have had more of a chance at completing that raid in a good amount of time. The aspect of saying that the raid needed to be difficult is one thing, but accessing the raid being difficult, that's just a whole different thing. So in order for us not to get into the intricacies of arguing about the merits and the demerits of matchmaking systems for a raid that's 8-man, an 8-man raid, I feel like incursions probably need to be something that shows up in the game. So they've already probably made a second raid because they delayed it. So after the second raid, I just feel like they just don't need to do any raids, because raids, in my opinion, just don't fit the division structure. I don't think it does, because the Division 2 is largely based around the way the Division 1 is. And so because of that, the player base that has a very different demographics, people who have things to do, that don't have, a lot of time on their hands to find all these groups, they can engage in incursions, and they can get those missions done, and they can finish them, and they can get the rewards that actually follow them. Now, yes, even incursions, were sometimes difficult to finish because people were still learning the mechanics. But then eventually everybody, gets to the point where, a 4-man group is able to accomplish that because it's a smaller unit. And now you have everybody that, you have to coordinate for much less people. An 8-man raid, on the other hand, is a whole different, monster. And I think this is what really exposed the Division 2's community to, not being the community that was ripe for raids. And I think that's another thing that we need to look into. And then also the reward system for the raids was just absolutely broken. There were people doing 40 raids, not getting the Eagle Bearer. There were people doing 20, 15. I was fortunate that a friend of mine who just RNG was on his side, he got about 3 Eagle Bearers, and I happened to be with him on the day that he got an extra one, and he dropped it for me. I mean, a lot of people have been asking me, why do you have a 4th character? The reason I have a 4th character is because I was farming that raid, and I wanted to get the Eagle Bearer because I had a lot of people, smack talking on my channel saying, oh, you don't have the exotics, and all that stuff. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go get these exotics because I wanted to shut them up. I'm a division player. That's what I do. I get all the best rewards in the game, and I move on. And so I wanted to get it, and so I leveled up a 4th character, and I had to spend extra time doing that. Fortunately, I didn't have to use that character to grind the raid every week, playing 4 raids, which is ridiculous in my opinion. Playing the same raid 4 times. Why would you have to play a raid 4 times? Like, a raid, yes, it's supposed to be long, it's supposed to be hard, but why would you have to grind it 4 times every week? So, the way that they did the game and the way they did those difficult missions, in their minds, I think they had a goal to achieve, but then when it came out to the community, it just did not fit with the situation and the scenario of Division players. And we have to face the facts. We just have to face the facts. The demographics for the Division really drives the way the game goes. We don't have a lot of 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are playing this game. And that's just the fact. If you look at my channel's demographics, it is largely made up of 25 through 65-year-olds. I'm surprised myself. And so when you design a game mechanic around the 18-year-old, I have a lot of time mind frame, you're going to lose out on a lot of the people who play your game, people who will buy DLC. I'm not saying casualize the game. I'm saying make the game fit the structure of your demographics of players, because those are the kind of people who play this game. Those are the kind of people who are willing to sit down and work through numbers and work through gear sets and work through builds. It's just a much older, set of people. I mean, the 25-year-old is a more analytical mind than the 17 and the 18-year-old. It's a fact. When I was 17 and 18, I was not thinking the way I do now. My brain was all over the place. And so I feel like the developers need to just think really hard about how they're releasing their content next year, because I feel like content is going to come next year. I feel like they're going to have a year too. They're going to support this game. I mean, I know it feels like they're slow rolling things, but I feel like they're going to come out strong. And I feel like they're going to be able to do things that continue the game support, but they have to do them right. If they don't do them right, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where they absolutely nullify their franchise and they lose a lot of consumer goodwill. And like I've said before, I want Massive to do well. I want the game to do well. And a lot of people have said, you just need to quit playing this game. Guys, I haven't played in a long time, so it's not like I'm playing the game right now. I'm playing other games until I see new content show up, and I'll be back. I'll be back for New York. A lot of people are coming back for New York. This is what a lot of us have said. But I feel like they need to unlock New York's map. A lot of people have, said, I don't think they're going to try to unlock New York's map because it doesn't seem like it's feasible. All we're getting is Comey Island. Ladies and gentlemen, the mistake that they made in the first place was designing a whole new game and a whole new map. The opportunity that they missed was expanding New York. Now that they have the opportunity to take us back to New York, they can still regain that opportunity again and gain players by reopening New York and creating a massive world that people are going to be really excited about. Just imagine having all of New York that we had, all of Manhattan. We don't even need any new areas. Just having all of Manhattan that we had before and all of New York that we had as well, and just putting that as a DLC. So New York, the full Manhattan map, people are going to pay $29 for that. Just think about all what's in Manhattan for $29, looking like the Division 2. Now, yes, you may complain and say, well, the movement systems and stuff in Division 1 is better, but trust me, I enjoyed the gear system and the brand set systems that we have in the Division 2. If you can take those things and bring Manhattan back and put a price tag on it, I'll be happy to engage in that. And I feel a lot of people are going to be happy to engage in that, because that's what I feel like they should have done in the first place. And even the base game right now, a lot of people are not happy about the price point, but I feel like a lot of people will be happy to even pick up the game if they can get that New York added to it, and we can enjoy just the nostalgic feeling of what the first map really brought to the table. So, I mean, these are really fun ideas to explore, but at the end of the day, it goes down to what the developer is willing to do. Some people think all what I'm saying is impossible, that the developers may not look into that, but largely I'm not, in that sense, I'm not skeptic enough to think that they won't at least explore some of these ideas. In fact, I think that it's necessary for them to explore these ideas in order to continue this franchise, because this game is too young to be killed like this. It's just too young. I mean, Destiny 2 has been going and still going somewhat strong. Why should the Division 2 not go strong? Why should it not, why should it not be a game that can rebuild itself when the roadmap for it to rebuild itself is right there? It's a roadmap that's been given by the community as feedback for years. If you have 3 or 4 years worth of data on a new IP, you're sitting on gold. I don't know why, Massive doesn't seem to really value a lot of the feedback that the community is given. Maybe they are. Maybe they're just working on these things as best as they can, and we're going to be seeing changes. So right now, we're going to let time decide what goes on, but I feel like the way the content structure is, incursions need to be top priority. Raids need to go all the way down. They need to be a thing that's probably done maybe one raid, you know, every 6 months, and then incursions just to fill up the map, or maybe just go back and unlock New York. Just imagine our incursions in New York. Imagine them being on a much beautiful map. Imagine them being a little bit more engaging. Maybe they've transformed a little. It's not the same old factions that we're meeting there, or maybe the factions have remapped the entire environment, you know, because the last time the division came there, you know, we kicked their butt. The APC and stuff is no longer a thing when you go into Falcon Lost. It's now kind of a different setup. Man, the options are limited, the possibilities are unending. So I guess we're gonna see from there. I just wanted to share my thoughts with you guys, and thank you very much for, you know, listening and watching. I appreciate your time and audience. If you're subscribed and you have the notification bell on, please go ahead and check that, because some people are saying that their notifications are off, and if you haven't subscribed, then feel free to do so. It will make a big difference for me. I appreciate you guys once again, and I'll see you in my next video. Peace.